her attention doesn't seem to be on my face as I would expect, but still she seems to be focusing hard. She's frozen for a bit, then her grip twitches and her demeanor changes completely.
Ruff, ruff, ruff.
After some quick grooming in the lavatory, I step out on the deck with Nefero and Brunis, looking out the windows. No longer in the stretch drive, the nauseous bending of lights is replaced by a massive planet below us. Its atmosphere, full of dust, is clearly visible, hovering far above the rock surface. Still, I'm wary of any sudden movements, half expecting an abrupt descent to the globe below, at least until Nefero tells me that we're waiting for a security clearance. It's then that I'm able to have a good look at the planet below me. I stare, not quite believing where I am, despite the torturous lead up to this moment. I think this is a good point to just pause in the video. I just wanted to point out the artwork. I love the artificial depth of field here, with the Brunis being blurred and Nefero being blurred, and Scipio also being kind of blurry, like a little bit, but his hand is in. His hand is what is in focus instead of any of the characters. His hand that is in focus, because that's like what touching the glass. And again, Hap's amazing art. I love this. I also like the expression of Nefero. It's like, I don't know. I love Nefero. The idea of living on a planet has always been an alluring idea to me. The planet our moon orbits, Anchoris, is uninhabitable. The handful of banished wolves that live there need to wear special spacesuits to protect themselves from the element and unbreathable air while they mine outside their base. Even then, when or if they come back, their bones are misshapen, muscles torn, organs damaged, and cardiovascular systems ruined due to the much higher gravitational pull of the Anchoris. I know we don't have to worry about that here, despite Khemia being roughly 12 times the size of Adastra in terms of surface area. One of the many aspects of the Khemian culture that drew me in was the persistence of the jackals to explore and, to an extent, to tame their planet. For millennia, before the Khemians even thought of themselves as Khemians, they built civilizations at the edges of the polar regions of the planet, living off the steady source of melted ice. The lack of water and intense heat at the equator had kept the planet's middle mostly barren. The axial tilt of Khemia was really the only reason intelligent life was able to develop at all, with the rest of the planet populated by mostly underground-dwelling insects and small but plentiful robust vegetation. Most Khemian civilization pre-Galaxias was almost constantly at war over water between the aptly named water kingdoms of that period. Now though, as I look down at the beige-colored desert planet, I see evidence of Khemian civilization all over the surface. Even from this distance. Lines and patterns unnatural in the universe cover its entirety, even its parched circumference. In the end, the jackals had been able to terraform their entire planet, and as a Luxian, I envied that, and it had me fantasizing about what Adastra could be. I've seen it plenty of times in photographs, but to see this in person reminds me of how much I wanted to visit this planet. But there's a tinge of sadness in this moment, as I wish that it was all under different circumstances, the stress and exhaustion blunting the excitement. That is, until we orbit further around the planet and I see the giant contraption that siphons energy from the star before it's beamed down to the planet itself. Enjoying the view? Nefero approaches me from behind and puts a paw on my shoulder. I don't flinch or feel the need to draw back like I did in the past. That must be Sahira's tower? Yes, it provides the energy to our planet, as you can see. As we rotate further around the planet, Nefero points to an odd orange, almost pink glowing beam. It's transferred from the star and carried to our planet via laser transmission. I stare for a while, taking it in, but unable to stop the nagging feeling of unease. How? I notice Nefero looking right at me, and I clear my throat. It's very, very impressive. I recall Omophora experimenting with the idea, but declaring it too dangerous for the solar system's stability. Yes, though we were sharing the tech with them, At least until the talks with Adastra started. I'm unsure what to say to that, so I remain quiet, staring at the beam until we orbit back around the planet. I forgot how massive planets can be. I remember reading that exploring the poles seemed as insurmountable as intergalactic space travels for the Khemias at the time. This is true. One of the main hurdles during the unification of Khemia was its sheer size. I believe it took a century longer than Adastra to achieve. Yeah, but weren't Khemia's methods largely peaceful, utilizing diplomacy over force?
Hey, that's right! No offense, but I'm surprised they taught you that.
I glance around the deck, noticing that Ampyx and Vetris have not yet joined us. They don't, but I supplemented my teachings with Khemia records and I was able to fill in the gaps.
Good on ya!
Nefera makes a lowering gesture with his paw. Brunis pauses, looking around the deck like I had before lowering his voice to a soft-spoken rumble.
Again, I don't want to seem like a condescending Khemian, but I know how Khemian viewpoints are basically quashed out of existence by your empire. I remember having to read Adastra history back in school and... I'm not trying to be a prick, but man, is it... Well, it's super Adastran.
He's practically shout-whispering at me. You know, you make yourself sound like a much bigger prick whenever you get euphemistic. I'm listening, but my mind is preoccupied with this sudden interest, along with how Ampyx and Vetris might react to me speaking poorly about Adastra. I'm not afraid, knowing they'll be fine as long as it draws in the Pharaoh, along with anyone else influential on Khemia, such as a high-ranking official like Brunis. It's actually illegal to read Khemian counterpoints on Adastra history unless one is given access to the restricted library in Varos University. And even then, those who read it are expected to treat the records, especially ones involving Adastra and Khemia interactions, as lies, which I then had to compile into an essay to why they were false. But I think it was worth it.
You read a Khemian counterpoint? By Hadderhotep?
I believe so. The one that matches its section on Adastra history. I smooth a paw down my mane, fidgeting with it even though I know I made sure that it was in place earlier. Are you, fans of her writings?
You can say that. It got some really important information on it.
I imagine that's a very intense read for an Adastrian. It's certainly shocking, yeah, but at least the counterpoints isn't blatantly biased, so I'm forced to consider that much of our own history omits and alters the narrative. I feel filthy saying such a thing about my home moon, but I'm not fully lying either. I'm hoping that I can receive lessons in the Khemian language on my free time while I'm there. All books and media with any Khemian in them were destroyed by the Empire during the war. And this is why none of the Khemia students or teachers born after the war can speak it.
The big library in the city should have translators if you need info before you learn. But I'm starting to see why Nephi likes you so much. He's always trying to lay educated folks, or really whoever can outsmart him.
What the hell, Brunis?
Can't ignore the patterns.
That's what I'm saying. Or I think I've said it. I had it in like my mind at least that the Pharaoh is an actual very smart character. He's very scheming and very intelligent, even though he oftentimes comes off as a little goofy character without a care in the world. I think he's like very smart. He just doesn't show it. I think maybe it's obvious and I'm just a little dumb.
Besides, you tried with me more than once.
I glance at the Pharaoh with a slight smirk. Really? I seriously doubt that a graduate of Sabayet would like me for my Adastra and grade education. It's certainly not the main reason, but you are smart. And please, forget any teasing comments I might have made about your school.
Really, Pharaoh? Shit like that only makes it more embarrassing to be a Sabayet alumni.
Sorry, it's a habit, considering it's one of the few things that I've done that my brother couldn't.
I still find it kinda sad that your whole motivation for that was just to stick it to your brother.
Of course, and to see Ram's face when he learned that I received my acceptance letter on the first try, after he tried several times over the several years, well, it was worth it. Are royal families not granted a spot? I thought all of you were educated there. No, acceptance is based on merit alone. I mean, my father, mother, and my elder sister attended, and while being royal makes it far easier to prepare, not everyone is capable. I see. Well, at least your brother had company if Aya didn't go. Oh, Aya has different ambitions. Ramoses, on the other hand, did not. He wanted to copy our father's pass in preparation for becoming a pharaoh.
I mean, I was let in because of my past.
There was good reason for it. And besides, you proved yourself quickly after
Getting higher marks than you.
Getting the highest mark in your discipline. Also, our attendance was decades apart. It cannot be compared.
Definitely not. It was a little more rigorous back then.
I'm curious about Bruno's statement, both about his past, but also about him being accepted into a school above his merit. Were you naturally academically gifted, or was there another reason you did so well? Their reactions tells me that I need to clarify my statement. Sorry, back when I was a pup, my grandfather paid for a spot in an elite preparatory school, and I struggled at first, but later left at the top of my class, and my motivations were simply to prove myself.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I really didn't fit in. The only way to shut those snubs up was to outstudy and outsmart them. And honestly, Sabayet is the only place in Khemia where I didn't feel like I was a Khemian.
I pause, the unexpected statement like a blow in the chest. I can sympathize with that to an extent, I think.
We gotta find some time to talk after we settle down at the palace. You can tell me more about that school. I'm sure that they brag about you being a former student now.
Another, much more painful blow stings beneath my sternum.
And I can show you around the city for your research. Nefero would take you, but you know, he's gotta be more careful in public. Actually, aren't you famous now, Nef?
If you mean more recognizable, then apparently so. Photographs of me haven't been shown to the public since I was a teenager in the family portraits. I imagine it's hard not to recognize me after what happened on Adastra. The slide of a hydraulic-powered door announces Ampyx's arrival.
Scipio, a word please.
I stiffen up and immediately turn around and walk towards Ampyx, who beckons me into another area of the ship where he had been rooming with Vetris. The very idea makes me want to chuckle, but Ampyx doesn't seem to be bothered by Vetris' constant waves of hypomanic chatter. Yes, Your Majesty. When I reach him, I bow at the waist, slightly beyond the required 70 degrees. Ampyx waves away etiquettes like this once he decides that you aren't an adversary or a disrespectful person, but I've been told to continue doing this while on Khemia, for obvious reasons.
Privacy in this room, please.
I have been disabled by your Emperor for private reasons until you leave this room, Scipio.
I haven't seen you the entire trip, but I trust that all is going well?
Yes, sorry, I was working on my mission.
Ah, yes, and from what I just saw, it seems to be going very well.
Vetris makes a noise like he's going to say something, and we both look at him, and I just hope that he won't say whatever he's going to say next, because Vetris thinking about his own words must mean that it's fairly... He shrugs.
They shared beds.
I wince, not because of what he said, but because he practically screeched it. I suppose the noises of the machinery of the ship drown him out, considering I haven't heard him since we were both on the deck.
Really? That's rather incredible, Scipio.
I'm still trying to figure out how Vetris knows that, but as long as I don't know what led up to it, I don't really care. Yeah, but nothing seriously intimate. We just wanted to be in each other's company.
I knew that Jackal to be a promiscuous man, but it appears that he's also desperate for companionship.
I have no idea how to take that sentence, so I stand attentively, wondering why Ampyx is judging Nefero for something wolves do all the time.
Almost makes me feel sorry for him.
This time I grit my teeth, focusing hard on keeping my expression neutral. Letting my emotions get in my way already? Already? Whose side am I even on?
Why feel sorry for someone who knows exactly what's happening here, Let him have his heart broken. I'm sure it's not going to be the first time.
I think of the endless flat tundra surrounding Lux, a landscape of boulders and brown dead-looking vegetation. A place where nothing is happening.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that was the reason for his falling out with the royal family.
I see. I should continue that part of my mission then. How was the trip for you?
It was mysterious.
I suppressed a sigh. So little words for what might actually matter.
We found some strange inconsistencies, particularly involving Khemian tech. I'm sure you met Am?
I rub my left temple. Yeah, it feels rather invasive. Is he not a spy if he's in our brains? I have no idea, but I will be speaking to the Vizier about having him permanently removed from our linguas. Absolutely outrageous.
Think about the implications though. How in the world did they manipulate the lingua?
Exactly. It's a metal orb that is less than a millimeter in size and is filled with an unknown liquid. No sibling has figured out how it works. What if it's like when someone gets the lingua inserted in their brain, the lingua basically transfers your knowledge of a language to a server, and then whenever someone else hears that language, it translates it through this server or something like that. So when Marco, or the main character in Adastra, got a lingua inserted to him, Ampyx could understand human language, but it couldn't before the lingua was inserted into the human. So the Khemians have found a way to get to that signal, or like what it is doing to transfer it, and that's how they can speak to their AI through it, because if it's connected to like the language part of your brain or something, or it transfers the language, I don't know. It's weird. But I think it's something like that. It probably uploads something from your brain to a server and then spreads that to all the other linguas. So question is, can it upload more than just language? Could it be able to upload like knowledge as well? It would probably be a lot to cover in this story, but like imagine just having like everyone's knowledge being spread over everyone. So everything anyone has ever known who has a lingua, anyone else with a lingua can learn through the lingua. That'd be crazy.
Apparently they can build everything the parents gift us, but even better, constructing a faster stretch drive is... It defies comprehension.
Yeah, I noticed this, and it makes me feel uneasy. It's made me feel suspicious. If they're so advanced, why would they want an alliance with the siblings who have the most hurdles to clear? Although Ampyx won't say primitive, that's what we are. The most primitive siblings in the Galaxias. Even the humans are more advanced than us, at least from what I've heard during the briefings. So I think, trying to come up with an explanation. Don't they always emphasize galactic harmony? Neferu once told me that Khemias feel a duty to normalize relations between Adastra and the rest of the Galaxias. Vetris burst out laughing, but Ampyx at least explains. No, that's what they tell the people to justify what they're doing. There are hidden motives every step we take here, Scipio. Understood. Do you have any idea what it might mean, Your Majesty? I don't, but if the tech isn't made by their own design, then I can't imagine that the answer is a good one.
Something is treating them rather well, it seems.
Ampyx and I go quiet, glancing at Vetris. Do you think the parents can answer next time you commune with them? Hell no. I'll never get a straight answer from them. The only thing they're crystal clear about are orders. I see. So, I'm adding another task for all of us on this mission. Simply take note of any suspicious technology and record it. A small task, but it could be extremely important. Understood, Emperor Ampyx. I notice the ship becoming quieter suddenly. The absence of whirring machinery and droning air vents, almost stunning after becoming so used to it.
I think we landed?
No announcement? Maybe it's because we told Am not to be present?
Even the wolves have figured out the PA system.
Gods, I hope it's not like this on all of Khemia. Putting their damn state-funded, state-developed, and state-owned supercomputer in our damn brains! Ampyx clears his throat after the outburst. Sorry. Now we simply act as if it's normal when we leave this room. Now we act as if all is normal when we leave this room. Any other questions or concerns?
Nope.
No, Your Majesty.
Oh yeah, no, Your Highness.
I assume that sounded disrespectful because that's just the way your voice sound. Now, you're both dismissed. We shall reconvene tonight. Remember, meetings are in the morning before breakfast and in the evenings after dinner. Ooh, this is the main menu place, but it's daytime. Cool. The first thing I noticed when stepping out of the ship is how dry the air is. It actually reminds me a bit of Lux, minus the heat. A stark difference to the humidity of Adastra City. Still, it feels good after being in the ship's overly cool climate control. We're in the palace courtyard, the walls of which block most of the view, but the glimpses of the dunes I get seemingly roll into the distance forever. The capital city Khemia isn't visible now, with the palace blocking the view. It's a fairly modest building, using angular and straight lines, but decorated in vivid paintings. On the wall next to me, I see hieroglyphs carved in a sunken relief along the top and bottom, and in the middle, various scenes of jackals and many other species engaging in daily life or rituals. I have the urge to run my fingers along it, but I have enough common sense not to. The monuments and statues are notably faded, stone worn down by time. Much like Adastra, Khemia had ceased commissioning more extravagant and decorative projects to honor the royal family, though thousands of years earlier. I know there are even more impressive structures in the city of Arum, the most powerful kingdom in the pre-Galaxias Khemia.
Skip?
I jerk my head to the jackal's direction, and I notice that my group has moved several meters away towards the entrance of the palace. I hurry to Neferu's side. Sorry, it's just so different from photographs, you know?
Oh, I do. I'll show you around the palace later if you'd like.
Of course! I see the smile Neferu is clearly trying to hide, probably amused at my pup-like wonder, but I can't help it. The feelings that I thought were missing are now back in full force, and I just take in the experience. The buildings on Adastra, such as a university and imperial palace, are old, but they have been rebuilt and modified over the past several centuries. But everything here is truly old. Maintained, but preserved. There is so much history here.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, much of the stone here has been in place for millennia.
It reminds me of what my instructors in architecture once told me, that long-lasting ancient structures take in the events and sapience around them, give them more character than we ourselves have.
Yes, Khemia very much subscribe to that philosophy. It's called Babeken, literally the building soul.
Babeken. I file it away, the word incredibly easy to pronounce by Khemia standards. I notice that our envoy has stopped moving as I almost run into Ampyx's back.
Are they not going to welcome us? I was told that the vizier would meet at the entrance. Shit, always making our jobs harder.
I glance at Brunis, but Neferu speaks up.
Ram's making a statement, probably to show his reservation about the Alliance, or he's just on a power trip. Typical, but do your best to try to ignore any of his disrespect. If the Alliance breaks down, he wanted to be clear that it was due to the outburst of a wolf.
I see. Well, then we shall wait. I'm moving to the shades. I'm already sweating out of every pore.
He was just standing behind.
And how do you think I feel? They'll assume that I jumped into the fountain before they let us in.
Should have gotten groomed before we came, Vetris.
Well, I don't. Actually, that might have been a good idea. But then I look too scrawny and malnourished. The facial fur is essential to my position as a scholar and instructor.
I'm sweating heavily too, of course, and I wonder if this is part of what Ramoses wanted. While Neferu's short fur makes the heat more bearable, Brunis has thicker fur like us, and I'm about to ask him how he handles it when Vetris asks something that I haven't even noticed.
Say, what sort of technology is keeping that water fountain structure aloft?
I had been so enamored by the building around us that I barely glanced at the fountain, but now that I'm looking at it,
I don't know. You'll have to ask an expert in the field. And what field might that be?
I'm not sure. I see Neferu's confusion at Vetris' tone and question, and I want to tell my teacher not to make his suspicions so obvious, as Ampyx had told us not to.
What field of tech is being used there?
I'm very sorry, but unfortunately, that information is classified by the State of Planetary Security.
Sorry, I suppose more advanced tech and information is sensitive, which I am sure you understand. Strange to display classified tech so blatantly, and for decorative purposes?
I step in at that point, having hoped Ampyx would do so, but he's pacing further away, clearly deep in his angry thoughts right now.
Vetris, let's ask someone else with better knowledge on the topic later, alright?
I give Vetris a quick bow before returning to Neferu.
Please excuse Vetris, his style of acquiring knowledge can seem a bit intense sometimes. We're just very excited to be here on Khemia. Indeed, but I don't want to be interrupted while I'm able to question a qualified jackal, Scipio.
My face burns, and not all from the heat. Mortified that I have to correct my teacher only 10 minutes after landing. Better now than in front of the pharaoh, though. Teacher, remember not to use the word jackal. Khemias can be... how many species?
15, and they make up over 60% of the population.
Vetris isn't listening at this point, instead deeply inspecting the pillar, reading the hieroglyphs out loud in Khemian, and despite his fluency, his pronunciation is terrible. Terrible to the point that my lingo I can't translate it. Brunis and Nefero glances at each other with a slightly confused expression, before Nefero again tries to stifle a smile, and I feel my ears grow hot. I'm beginning to worry that I have to supervise Vetris the entire visit, though I try to play it off with a smile, speaking lowly to the two Khemians so Vetris won't hear. You can see why Adastrans need training from an expert. He learned from books only, before the war.
It is no problem, just unexpected. But you are right, maybe Adastra can set up some programs with native speakers if all goes well.
Vizier Ramoses is now arriving to welcome the diplomatic mission from Adastra. A second later, the stone door lowers slowly. It's dark in the entryway, and I wonder why there's no lighting at all. Nefero sighs loudly next to me, muttering something about theatrics. Then I see a glint of light reflecting off of something. Something gold. Then Vizier Ramoses steps into the courtyard. Ooh, okay. Our second jackal. It's a third Khemian, but the second jackal. I was nervous about this moment, despite having seen the Vizier before in 2 meetings over the past 2 years, but with the unusual ceremonial garb, it's more intimidating, which I suppose is the point. Shiny, smooth black drones float around him, moving close to us for a moment, as if looking for any signs of danger before moving back to the Vizier. We all stand awkwardly for a moment, and I look between Ampyx and Ramoses, wondering who should make the first move. I assume Ampyx knows how to properly greet the Vizier, but after making us wait, it's clear proper etiquette is not being used right now, and Ampyx simply watches him carefully. Then there's more movement behind him, and I see another jackal. A young female. She walks up behind the Vizier, and he bends his knees slightly so that she can reach his mask and pull it up over his head. Then she moves to his left, where she stands and looks on politely. Then she locks eyes with me and doesn't look away. Oh, is that the sister, the one that Scipio was communicating with on the ship? I really like her coat, or like the arm thing, like how it wraps around her arms and goes into the bracelet. That's really cool. I like the design of that. Her expression tells me that she found something, and I know it must be Aya. Then Ramoses steps forward, head high, leaning back a bit more than he might need to. I wonder if it has to do with his position.
Welcome, Emperor Amycus, and welcome Amycus subjects. It is an honor to have you and your people on our planet once more. May Autep be with you this day, and with Adastra forever. And may Autep be with you. Thank you for the invitations and for accommodating our envoy. It seems that we may have arrived too early, so I apologize for that as well. No apology is necessary. You were right on time. I see. That's a relief then. However, it would not have been a problem if you had been early. The fact that you are here now, on peaceful terms, is all that matters to the Pharaoh and his people. Of course, and may it stay that way forever.
The hot wind blowing across the desert is the only sound during the gaps in their conversations, seeming to emphasize how the pauses go on for just a second too long.
Forever indeed. I must thank you for taking time away from your vital duties as Emperor to talk with Khemia directly. All is well on Adastra, I trust? I hear that your sister is acting in your place. Yes, of course. I was reluctant to do so, but the importance of our discussion required it. I only hope that we can reach a solution during my time here. Of course. The Pharaoh is still wrapping up his visit to Omophora, but progress can still be made between the two of us in the meantime. Now let us head inside. We can begin preliminary discussions, along with plans to visit the city for your public address in 3 days. Very well, and thank you again. No need for thanks. It's an honor to have you here.
Ampyx begins to follow the vizier into the palace before Ramoses turns his back to us. Neferu, please show the others around and make sure that they are comfortable. He then disappears into the palace with Ampyx following him. I blink, slightly stunned by the brief, tense introduction. Not much of an introduction, considering that he didn't even acknowledge us. I had been ready for some kind of unpleasantness, considering how Neferu talks about him, but if I were judging him based on those few minutes, I don't think his demeanor is even suited for ruling. If he is the next pharaoh, would he just not end the alliance as soon as his father steps down or passes away? It just hit me now with like the current pharaoh passing away. What if it happens to him like what happened to Ampyx's dad? If I don't misremember, Alexios killed Ampyx's father. Didn't he? Wasn't that what happened? That he did something to the ship, that it exploded or crashed or something, and the father died? And the pharaoh being on Omophora, like the Alexios home planet, could it be that they might kill the pharaoh there and have it look like an accident? No, they probably wouldn't do that because that would make too obvious. Since they already had killed one leader from another sibling, I don't think they would do it to the most powerful one. Or would they, if they're in scheme with Ramoses?
Bit of an asshole, isn't he?
I whirl on my teacher, eyes wide, paws up, trying to shush him.
It's fine, Scipio. Asshole is a compliment to the likes of him. A prick all under the disguise of politeness. The nicer he acts, the more he wishes you were dead. Ambassador Brunis!
Brunis jumps, looking down at the much smaller wolf.
Yeah?
I must ask you something about Khemia politic etiquette to better log this event in my records.
Well, that wasn't exactly normal, but okay. Do you wanna go inside first, or...?
It shall be quick. I'm going to take a nose out here anyway once we're done.
I watch Brunis awkwardly trying to talk to Vetris, but the height differential is so much that he eventually sits down on his rump to better talk to the neurotic teacher eye to eye.
Neferu! It's good to have you back.
She jumps up and hugs him, which makes me relax, taking it as a signal that formal etiquette is no longer required. And it's good to see you again too. I'm just glad to be back.
Yeah, I was so upset after you told father that you wanted to stay after what happened at the palace.
We both know that it would have made everything worse. It's the only place I had on purpose anyway.
I understand. Now, please introduce me to your friend.
Ah, yes. Rami didn't even introduce any of us, did he? Aya gasps, then laughs.
I forgot you call him that sometimes. Do be more careful around him though. He's a bit testier than he used to be.
Fantastic news. Anyway, this is Scipio. He is a student of the scholar over there. His name is Vetris. His directive are to... Neferu stops as he realizes that Aya has stepped forward, grabbing my paw. I flinch in surprise, but I try to play off with a smile. Touching during the introduction goes against my Wolvam upbringing, but I grip back gently to acknowledge it. At the same time, I wave at her with my free paw without even realizing it, as if I'm using every greeting that I can to cover my bases. Hello, Aya. It's a pleasure to meet you. Neferu has told me a bit about you.
It's a pleasure meeting you, Scipio. I think we've already met, though not as formally.
Oh, yes, so... that was you in my dreams? The last words come out in a humiliating mumble, then almost squeak at the very end. Luckily, she only nods, and I'm relieved that I haven't exposed myself as insane yet. I notice then that she's still holding my paw, as if she's feeling for something, and her attention doesn't seem to be on my face as I would expect. But still, she seems to be focusing hard. I also noticed that she has the arrow on her forehead, just like the wolves does, like Amicus, Virginia, and Cassius does. But Neferu doesn't, and Ramoses didn't either. Does Scipio? I don't know. Very interesting. Like, I'm wondering, is it something, at least with them here, that must be some kind of face paint, or like a tattoo or something, right? Like, it's not a fur, like just go golden like this. That's something they paint on or tattoo on or something, I would assume. I look at Neferu, but he looks back with a raised brow, seemingly as confused as I am. She's frozen for a bit, then her grip twitches and her demeanor changes completely. She stares at our paws, then she looks up at me closely. I duck my ears in embarrassment. I'm sorry, I'm probably out of touch when it comes to meeting someone in the Khemian...
Don't be sorry. This isn't a typical greeting.
Her voice, once high, melodic and eager, is now low and almost dull. Still, she holds my paw and I make a small effort to pull back, to gently encourage her to end this strange, non-typical greeting, but she continues to hold on. I stand there helplessly, looking at Nefero for help. Aya, please, maybe you can do that sort of thing when you get to know him better. Aya doesn't seem to acknowledge him, but she seems to come out of a trance, and with a sad look, she releases her grip. She stares at me with the same sad, almost disbelieving look, and I fidget with my glasses to give my paws something to do. She doesn't normally do anything like that I've seen. Aya, are you alright? A part of me wonders if this is my fault, especially if it's the first time she's done it.
I'm sorry, I was just really excited to meet you.
She says this even though the excitement is gone from her voice. Oh, it's fine! My voice is loud and full of false cheer, as to make up for the lost enthusiasm. May I ask what that was about though?
Of course, but it will have to wait until we have more privacy.
We have privacy. Nefero gestures at Brunis and Vetris, and I realize that my teacher's reedy, relentless voice is still chattering on while Brunis stares at him, mouth agape and squinting in confusion.
From them, maybe.
She gives Nefero an almost guilty look. Nefero, get out of here. Wait, me? But I'm his friend! You can't just grab people you don't know and drag them into your... Nefero cuts himself off, but Aya catches it.
My what, Nefero? My witchcraft? My imagination? Do you also think I'm a schizophrenic that our family is trying to disguise?
No, of course not. Nefero looks like he wants to say more, but he simply closes his mouth, looking stunned. I'm stunned as well, but now I'd much rather be with Vetris, making sure that he's not saying anything too foolish. A strange, irrational thought that I could be the reason the relationship falls apart crosses my mind. I believe I started things off a bit awkwardly. Please forgive my wolven habits. I bow slightly to her, trying to give the tension between them a release, and it seems to work, at least a little.
No, Scipio, I am the one with the unusual habits. I just have a lot on my mind right now, and there are some fairly popular rumors going around about my role in the palace.
She says the last bit to Nefero. They believe you are mentally ill?
It's the latest one, but it's a natural consequence to the secrecy of my role.
I apologize for disrespecting it. I can at least sympathize with false rumors though. We also need to talk.
Of course, Nefero. You're staying in the palace when our guests are here, right?
Yes, as long as Ram leaves me alone and doesn't kick me out. I am technically part of the envoy after all.
Yes, it'll be just like old times.
Well, maybe not just like old times, but hopefully we can still enjoy ourselves.
With Skip!
I smile slightly at the casual nickname, wondering how every Khemian I've met uses it so quickly and naturally. I wonder if Skip, means something in Khemian language. And that's why they like using it. I'm here to understand and observe the way of Khemia, inside and outside the palace, so I'm glad to be included.
This is so exciting! Sorry if I'm sounding insane, but being in the palace with all the Ramoses around, trying to make casual conversations with me...
She shudders.
It's a bit of a nightmare.
Is that bad, huh?
It's probably because he has no one to talk to either. With Father of Planet and Hinut training in Amadun, Ramoses has always had someone to guide him, but that's definitely not going to be me.
I decide to become a bit bold and break into the conversation. The time we waited for him when we first arrived, was that some sort of political tactic? Or is he just... I search for the correct, least offensive word. Unaware of his actions? No, if it seemed rude, it's intentional on his part. Right, Aya?
We literally stood in the entrance for 5 minutes.
Oh.
I'm sorry, but I don't know.
But you're a high-ranking ambassador and a foreign relations expert.
Sure, but I don't know anything about some pharaoh 5,000 years ago.
I turn to Vetris, who is unbelievably clutching Bruno's pant leg to prevent him from moving away. Oh god, please excuse me. It was nice meeting you and I hope we can talk again soon, Aya.
Of course.
I suppose I'll take the time to catch up with Aya. Good luck dealing with that. I look back and at this point Brunus is trying to keep his pants up with the paw and I practically run to pull Vetris off of him, doing it in a way that doesn't drop Brunus's trousers. Oh god. Oh, was that it? No, okay, there's more. Oh, wait, what? Oh!
Magistrate Flavus, at this point, what I'm most curious about is why you're bothering to talk to me in the first place. I was under the impression that you were seeking a compromise.
Flavius, one of the triumvirs on Lupas, stares at her, looking somewhat bored. Virginia assumes the only reason for this communication is to disrespect her.
I told you our conditions. 1 more funding to maintain culturally and historical significant building and locations, more voting powers for Lupas triumvirs, and for the Lupas to have veto power in any of the votes the triumvirates are part of.
Virginia stares at the man, noting the bald patches in his head fur, likely due to fur pulling, made all more noticeable in how he groomed the fur to try to disguise it. He looks relaxed before her, but she doubts that's how he feels.
A realistic compromise, and I apologize for having to repeat myself, but here it is in a more concise format that you might remember. The last time I checked a year ago, Lupas is our 2nd wealthiest city, just behind Adrote. Still, this demand is the least possible. But the others? Why should Lupas have more voting power when the population is, last I checked, only about 1.5 million, half of the 3 million average? I can think of 4 cities right now that actually need more voting powers due to their large populations. Finally, why does Lupas deserve veto power, and power reserved only for Adastra? What will the other cities think? There is no explaining or excuse for this. I don't need to justify the reason for it. The answer is absolutely not.
The wolf growls in his throat, but is so slight Virginia is willing to let it go as unintentional, wanting to keep her conversations with this man as short and quick as possible.
But Lupas is the historical capital of Adastra.
Virginia struggles to not roll her eyes. Lupas was temporarily capital for less than a decade over 5 millennia ago, while Tricelli served as a temporary capital for even longer and far more recently. But she realizes there is little point in arguing with this man, Virginia staring at his head fur instead, thinking about how to best deal with the situation. Not just Lupas, but the Empire as a whole.
And if you're not even going to listen to me, then I don't believe there is much discussion here left for us.
You're right. At this point in time, we seemingly have nothing to negotiate. In the meantime, Adastra will keep a close eye on your city. Always remember that I will not hesitate to do whatever needs to be done to keep the Empire stable.
If that's what you want...
And if you refer to me again without using my proper title, you will be punished accordingly.
Flavius opens his mouth, his fur bristling, and Virginia feels some satisfaction in seeing it. He likely has never had a woman speak to him in such a way.
Anything else, Magistrate Flavius?
He stares hard through the screen, and Virginia stares back.
That is all, Empress Regent.
Very well. You are dismissed.
Just before the portal call ends and the screen goes to black, Virginia hears a bit before the audio cuts off. Virginia can particularly hear the magistrate spitting out her most popular names. Whore, prostitute, bitch, cunt, any gender-specific insult will do. Not that she minds, but Virginia knows that Ampyx did not do enough to keep this from happening. Not intentionally, of course, and Virginia had refrained from pestering him about it, seeing how troubled he's become over the past several months. She reminded him maybe twice, and he certainly thought that he put together a reliable group of officials to aid her, but they hadn't been ready for this. She wonders if anything could have prepared Adastra for this. It's only been 3 days, or maybe only 2? She massages above her eyes with her thumb and middle finger. No emperor, and certainly not acting empress, can succeed without a strong backing from anyone.
Incredible! All my life work for this? She begins to mutter to herself, something she didn't do often before being left alone to rule. Of course, she never expected to be in this role. Pote's goal had been to at least become an advisor, and apparently failed terribly at because Ampyx didn't think ahead. There should be 10 advisors speaking to me right now. At this rate, I would be overthrown in a year, if not months. I wonder how I will be killed. I'm sure they'll be very creative about it. Apologies for interrupting, but Cassius is arriving in 15 minutes.
Is Cassius back? Oh my god!
What? Why?
She asked the question out of complete surprise, not expecting Com to know, and sure enough,
I apologize, but I do not have that information. No forewarning for his return was given. He arrived on an Omoforan ship, which cannot be communicated with by Adastran equipment due to current strained relations.
oh my god, is Alexius coming as well? One could hope. Whatever the reason for Cassius' unexpected arrival, Virginia suspects it's not good. Though, as she thinks of her brother, a few ideas form in her mind.
Come, set out refreshments in the vestibule room to prepare for my brother's arrival, please.
Of course, Empress Regent. By the time Virginia arrives, she's a minute or so ahead of her brother, and she shows up just as the refreshments arrive. Cassius! He glances around before his eyes settle on Virginia.
Sister, apologize for my unannounced arrival. It's difficult to send messages from...
Cass! It's wonderful to see you again! It's hard to say which one of them is more surprised by Virginia's actions as she embraces Cassius. Still, Cassius hugs back, never having been one to show physical affection with his family members.
Are you alright? I don't think we embraced since I woke up after the assassination attempt.
Not exactly, but I can explain it in a bit. Do you want to sit down and talk over refreshments? If you're tired, I can wait until morning, assuming you're planning on staying.
Actually, yes. I do miss those conversations we used to have. As for staying, that's also a yes. And thank you for accommodating me after, well, everything, I suppose.
You're a member of our family, and you're always welcome here. Virginia glances around, half expecting to see Alexios somewhere slinking about in the shadows. Is Alex...
on Omophora. You don't need to worry about him coming back here.
I see. Well, let's have a seat and we can exchange our woes. Cassius, clearly famished, is filling his mouth, so Virginia starts first. You might have heard that I'm currently acting on Ampyx's behalf at the moment. Cassius swallows hard.
Yes, I did. Congratulations. Maybe? I don't envy you, and that's all I say. Also, I don't trust the Ampyx's judgment to gauge if Adastra is ready for an empress.
Oh, certainly not. It kills these men to even acknowledge what I am.
I see. Lux might be opposed, and Lupus definitely is, even if they haven't said so yet.
You're right, I haven't had many issues with Lux yet, but I just finished a call with a Lupassian triumvir who called me a bitch before our call fully ended.
What? Which one was it? You're punishing him, right? That could even be considered a capital offense.
Seeing Cassius' hackle rise, she knows that prideful anger well and is coming to the surface, but for now it's somehow comforting. I mean, yeah, for the first time in a while she has someone who's on her side in this whole thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. Besides, it's simply one of my more popular nicknames. Though not as popular as whore, which is something I've grown used to. Virginia sees Cassius wince at that word too, and it doesn't surprise her that he would have no idea, having had his full attention on becoming the Emperor himself before leaving for Omophora.
That's a bit of an odd one though, isn't it? Where did you think you have time to do that?
Virginia laughs, caught off guard by the statement. Be a whore? That's a good question, but I assume they just enjoy the juxtaposition with my name.
Amicus should have been actively punished for behavior, but you're the acting empress right now, so they must show you respect or suffer the consequences.
I'm beginning to run out of other options, so it might have to happen soon.
I'm surprised you haven't already. I still want to know which triumvir that was. Is he not aware that the traditional punishment for insulting a woman of the royal family is castration? Emperor Potus famously castrated the triumvir himself with a dull dagger, and to be fair, the official made statements about Pontus' daughter's genitalia in regards to how many men she slept with. It always comes down to what's between your legs, doesn't it? Well, being an emperor rather than an empress is very different. It's fairly universal that men who rule with harsh, merciless tactics are seen as strong and respected. Women, on the other hand, are seen as cruel and sadistic, which are qualities unbecoming of their natural role in the world, which is nurturing and worshipping men, of course. And somehow, history always remembers them as a seductress whore or something. Those few female rulers on Adastra exist in pre-Drusus, overseeing smaller kingdoms, but I assume it's the same now as it was then. Yeah, I remember noting that back in my school days. Few emperors were treated fairly in the history books. But yes, I don't believe a single woman was considered a good empress despite some of their kingdoms flourishing at the time. Cassius talks of the subject as if it's the first time he's giving it thought. It seemed the Ampyx egalitarian approach was the deciding factor on Cassius' position and gender roles. Either way, it would be my duty as your closest male relative to dole out the punishment, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. Virginia doesn't even try to imagine such a thing. One thing has stabilized, however, and if all goes acceptably well, I will punish anyone who says such a thing. And it's a bit selfish in a way that my own honor is on the stake here. What kind of brother allows such a thing to be said about his sister? A weak one. While Virginia hopes that this never comes to pass, she still rests a paw on Cassius' shoulder, acknowledging his love and support. Cassius stares into the middle distance for a moment, his hackles lowering before he looks back at Virginia. So are you doing okay in your position? She notices Cassius isn't looking at her anymore, instead staring at the goblet next to him. Even though it's Virdi and not wine, Virginia has a good idea of what he's thinking about. He's never said so, but they all recognize that he had suffered mentally, not just physically during the short period of his emperorship. Seeing this, Virginia almost aborts her earlier plans, but remembering the possible consequences for herself, her family, and Adastra as a whole, she proceeds, but more cautiously. I'm managing. The main insurmountable issue is that no one is on my side. They're either neutral or oppose me. I would seek advisors, but Father's most consistent advice to me was to never allow males near me, either physically or emotionally. I especially want to heed that warning now, considering some families who ruled before unification might see this as an opportunity to take back power. However, he never planned me becoming empress, nor did I, so I have no connection with anyone in power. Did Amicus not set you up with vetted members of the Senate? I know there's at least a dozen or so egalitarians in here. They stopped communicating with me the day after Amicus departed. Oh, that's not good. Indeed, I fear several plans are in the work. Stay in the palace as much as possible and always bring drones to escort you outside. Consider preparing your own food and knowing its source. I can go out and buy if you need me to. Finally, you need an escape plan if the worst case scenario unfolds. Have the Emperor's ship always ready for departure, then head for Khemia. Not just because Amicus is there, but also because they are the only ones in contact with Adastra, and I'm sure that your plight would interest them. Of course, don't trust males, but also be wary of the possibility that they might use female assassins for that very reason, so trust no one. The only men I've ever trusted are my brothers. That's very kind, but unfortunately, your brothers are incompetent fools. I'm surprised that Amicus left, no matter what Khemia demanded, but risking the Empire and throwing his sister into the mess to deal with it, This is what happened when he looks to the stars instead of having a look at his own damn empire. It speaks of a deeper problem in his leadership. He'll need help with that when he gets back. He believed everything was in order when he left. The senators acted as they were willing to work with me. I was prepared for the mask to drop, but not quite this fast and all at once. I know my time is running out with some kind of political backing. I see. Virginia sees the tension in Cassius' body, his breath a bit heavier now, and she feels a twinge in her chest at causing her brother such distress. It's strange having these emotions come back to the surface. Apparently behavioral alteration did not fully subdue bothersome emotions like it was supposed to, but something about becoming Empress, with so much responsibility, is made her more aware of the emotions of those around her. I know this is a terrible situation to come home to, especially after your own experience in my current position, but I'm truly worried for the future of the Empire, especially if Ampyx is gone for over a year. Do you still have connections in Adastra politics? After how long it's been, it'll need to be reconnected, but I believe that I have enough influence to scrap something together fairly quickly, at least something to hold off any attempts of overthrowing you. That would give us some time to build a proper sturdy foundation for your rule. So what will you have me do, your Imperial Majesty? Virginia looks at her brother for just a moment, and while she feels love, there's a sentimental aspect to it, another emotion she thought had departed long ago. But to see Cassius, who she knows is a very emotional man, accept his anxieties and future misery in less than a minute to help her. She quickly imagines cornering the emotion, locking it in an iron box, before letting it slip out of her head, the way she'd been taught. But now is not the time, and she needs to get her emotions back under control, because she knows any word of her shedding a tear, especially in the first day of Empress Regent, would not do her or Cassius any favors. You don't mind serving under a female? You're my sister, Virginia, and now that I know how hostile the Empire is towards you, I don't care about my reputation. My political career ended 3 years ago anyway. My goal is to save the Empire, and to help you carry the legacy of our family, so that your 1 year of rule is remembered as a great year. Virginia smiles at that, wondering if he still thought about the way she had initiated his removal from the throne 3 years ago. But Cassius is very different now, just like her. Well, hopefully with your talent for understanding the needs of the people, along with your political experience and connection, you can be my chief advisor, the Magistros, if you're willing to accept. Cassius gulps audibly. Alright then, I'll get started tomorrow. It will give me purpose at the very least. Thank you, Cassius. At least I have hope now. Good, you worried me when I first arrived. I've never seen you in this sort of state before. Virginia grimaces inwardly. She definitely needs to get those emotions back under control. I think it's the isolation. Talking to calm and antagonistic officials all day does odd things to the mind. So, tell me about Mophora if you're not too tired? Cassius takes a deep breath, eyes looking up towards the ceiling, as if seeing something beyond. That reminds me that I'll have to come up with some sort of explanation for what I did before I speak to any officials. As for my time there, it was, an experience. There's a few seconds of silence. Good experience? An eye-opening one. Virginia lets another few seconds go before asking the question she should have asked earlier. Did it involve Alex? He is one of the main reasons. In the end, our loyalties lie with our own people. I came to realize how my irresponsibility and emotions ruined many lives on Adastra, but for some reason, it took a few years. I had always believed that Mophora forced him into a situation that he did not want to be part of, but now he tells me that it was necessary. We were all naive to Alex's intentions. Mophora hasn't attacked Adastra in a millennia, and it was hard to believe that they were running a sabotage mission with a cat who didn't even have the physical or mental training to be a spy. But it was something he could only achieve by becoming close to me, which only makes me ill to think about now. That's not surprising, as Virginia notices he stops eating, a paw subtly resting on his stomach. She wants to ask Cassius how he's doing, just like he had asked her, but she knows he'd been offended. You simply don't ask males about feelings like this. But while Virginia has never been in a romantic relationship, she does know the feeling of deep betrayal, the confusion, devastation, and hurt that goes along with questioning yourself and every single person around you. Is how she always felt during her childhood and adolescence. I had told him how much it all bothered me, but he rarely thinks about it and seems surprised that I still bring it up. It made me wonder if I had misinterpreted his fears and mystery at that time, that maybe it was all for himself. He believes that the Galaxias can only succeed if Adastra is no longer a sibling race, no matter the means. I've heard that sentiment is growing stronger there. Yes, most likely due to a possible alliance with Khemia, which, if successful, would be very difficult to undo. This is actually the main reason I came back. They don't even know I'm here. Well, they probably do by now. I actually stole Alexios' ship, capable of using the stretch drive. It was given to him as a gift for the destruction he caused. They weren't allowing me to leave because of what I learned from being close to him. Virginia sits up straighter, realizing that she has another issue to worry about, along with her rebelling empire, just as serious, if not more so. This makes me wonder if Cassius didn't want the Galaxias either. Didn't he? He was not interested in the other part. So could it be that he's actually on the Omophoran side, and this him escaping Omophora and then not letting him leave is just a facade or something, like it's just a ruse, so that he is actually here to sabotage for Omophora? Imagine that, and now he's like getting close to Virginia and power and can from the inside, just like Alexios did. That would be terrible for the other characters. It would be a cool story beat, but I think it would make the whole story too convoluted with everything that is happening, unless Omophora will be like the big villain in this whole, like, the whole story. If they're trying to kill, maybe, or doing something to the Pharaoh. Like I said, they would do anything to ruin. But he could also just have escaped. That he could also be telling the truth. But I want Cassius to be a good guy. But I don't know. I think it's cooler, like more interesting if he's on the Omophoran side. But we will see. They held you captive? Are they planning something? House arrest, basically, but yes, and while they were already interested after learning of Amycus' absence, I'm sure they will be far more emboldened once they learn of the Empire's true state. What better time to strike? Virginia takes a deep breath, looking down at the floor for a moment. Now I am the one sorry for bringing such bad news home with me. I did say we should have changed our vows, and how vowful it is. Unfortunately, a male will definitely have to communicate with planetary defense. If you're willing, I will have a simple plan for restoring your reputation. Cassius' ears, muscle and tail twitch at the same time, but again he forces a smile. I'm at your command. Oh. Ooh. Okay. That was chapter 3. A little bit shorter than the first two. Almost like more happened in this episode than it did in the last one, because the previous episode was much longer, but it was mostly them just talking about stuff. Here things actually happened, so to speak. Okay, so we're only 20 seconds into the post-rambling part, and I'm already adding things in post. But like I said, I thought this episode would be longer, and it turned out that it would actually be if you were to play this from itch.io, but I downloaded it from their Patreon page, and turned out that what I thought was the next chapter was 80% of the chapter, and then they uploaded the last part of the chapter, but I thought that was the next chapter. So when they then uploaded it to itch.io, they had put these two parts together into one chapter, and I felt so dumb, because now I was like, okay, now I'm gonna upload a much shorter video that would be, oh, chapter 4, but that is actually just part of chapter 3. So I just bamboozled it, and I got annoyed and didn't upload this. But here it is. I thought I should upload it so that I can get on with the next episode. I am not sure when that will be. Life is in the way a lot of times. But I think I will talk about that after the next episode, because I've learned stuff about myself and I'm working on a personal project. But I think I'll mention that more in the post-credit scene of the next episode. I like that Cass got back and got his, like, we got a little view from him what happened. Like, I like the whole thing in this game that they reference stuff that happened in Adastra, and you get to, like, okay, but that you have put some, like, distance to it. How did you feel about all that happened? Like, not us as readers, but the characters. Like, how do you feel about what happened those years ago? And
I'm so happy that we got to meet more Khemians, more of the Jackals. So the Neferu's family, I'm very excited about that. I hope. I realized when I was doing their, like, because I gave Neferu an accent, and then when I did the accents for the, like, try to put the same accent on the other two, I was like, oh no, I hope this is not like I'm being like offensive or something when doing this. I'm just like, when I started doing Neferu's accent, I was thinking of like Antonio Banderas, and actually someone commented that in like one of the first videos where Neferu was, and like, oh, it sounds like Antonio Banderas. But I think it evolved into like its own kind of like weird accent that I'm not really basing it on anything. It's just needed to sound different from everyone else, and that's what it landed on. No one has ever said that they take it offensively, but I just want to like, point it out that I'm not meant to be like offensive to anyone. I think this was one of the few times, or like the only times, where we follow someone else that isn't the main character. Like in Adastra, we followed Ampyx just at the very, very start of Adastra, until, spoilers for Adastra, but until Marco dies. Then we followed Ampyx for a few paragraphs, which is cool. So now we actually got a lot, like we got to follow another character, Virginia, in this stake, which was very cool. I like that. I hope Howley does more of that. Art, perhaps, the characters, amazing. I love them. The backgrounds with the different coloring, everything. The music, so good. This is amazing. Also, this we're playing now is actually build 2. While the previous chapter was also build 2. So I was doing like chapter 1, chapter 2 is build 1, build 2, but now this is build 2 because they put the previous 1 and 2 into one in the same first build. And this is because I think they're not using Rempy, like the visual novel engine anymore. It seems that they got their own engine to run the game. If you go and play the first build, there is more like animation and stuff when characters slide across the screen. The background also moves a little bit, like you saw on the end here. The text box lowers instead of just fade away. Stuff like that, little small animations that just makes the whole thing more nice to look at. Like little zoom ins and zoom outs to just give an effect. Very cool. Gonna make it a lot of more troublesome to edit around it, because in the visual novel engine, everything is just static, so you can very easily cut and put an end. But now that when there's motion, you have to like deal with that as well. When I'm recording this, I haven't edited the second chapter yet, so I cannot speak for how people reacted to that. But the reactions to the first episode that has been up for a couple of weeks now, I think, everyone has been so nice. I got all these like polite comments, and this is why I want to do this stuff. Like getting some kind of appreciation for what you're doing. You're just not putting it out into an empty void, but actually having people reply and say, wow, you're back. I missed you. This is nice. Oh, more Khemia. Thank you for doing this. And it's like, oh, thank you. Thank you for watching. So, this is my new setup, by the way. I didn't mention. This is where I've been for the longest time now. I've been sitting here. This is where Chaser used to sit long time, like years back. Me and Chase, we made our Minecraft videos, and we did World of Warships. He was sitting here and I was sitting just next to him before I moved into another room. But he was sitting here. But now I'm here because Chase doesn't live here anymore. I'm rambling. I always ramble. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. It feels good being here again. Please leave nice comments. It makes me very happy. I'll try to respond to as many as I can. So take care, and remember that you are loved and appreciated, and you should be proud of who you are, because I want to see you in the next video. Bye!
Actually, yes. Actually.